Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The fans are all behind me again tonight. Following Purdue's 86-68 loss to Michigan at the Big Ten tournament, eliminating the Boilermakers from this glorious event. I am obviously under the weather, as you can tell by now. I've spent the day sucking down, yes, honey packets. Not my finest hour, but we're just trying to get through here. I now have tomorrow off, so get some rest, I guess. Anyway, thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel for your support, as always. We appreciate it very much. So Purdue came to Indy, I can assume, wanting to win this thing. It was Purdue's last opportunity this season to win a Big Ten title. This was a Purdue team that had the ability to win championships at the conference level. The regular season title got away, and now the Big Ten tournament titles got away. Purdue still got the NCAA tournament ahead of it. Last year, you were perfectly cool losing in the Big Ten tournament. Maybe not perfectly cool, but you weren't freaking out because you lost in the Big Ten tournament because you had bigger fish to fry. What's to say this wasn't Purdue's biggest fish? That's overstating it. It is, because Purdue can win NCAA tournament games. But this would have been a good opportunity to, if not win this thing, build up some momentum going into the NCAA tournament. And that really didn't happen. Purdue has now lost, I think, 6 of 9 games. If I'm tabulating that correctly in my head, which I'm most likely am not, because my head is congested as hell, probably not functioning. So hopefully you get my point here that, this was an opportunity for Purdue to come win a championship, or at least do some positive things to erase this sour taste. You don't erase taste, do you? It was an opportunity for Purdue to kind of turn the page on its not-so-great finish to the season, which was largely attributable to Purdue playing a lot of road games against a lot of the best teams on its Big Ten schedule. But nevertheless, it was not a good look for Purdue the last 8 weeks or so. Here comes the Zamboni. And this was sort of more of the same. A lot of if you just look at the box score, the post-game talking points, which originate with people like me who ask the questions, involve Purdue having one of its worst shooting games of the year, shooting only 33.8%. When you itemize those shots, you see Braden Smith jumpers, you see Fletcher Lawyer jumpers, and especially Trey Kaufman-Wren high percentage shots that those guys are usually pretty good on. Purdue got the sort of looks that could have put up 80 points in this game. If you'd given Purdue the choice between the shots it got today and like the shots it got yesterday against USC, it probably would have taken today, because Purdue got what it wanted offensively. It just didn't make the shots. It happens, I guess. To me, it looked like Purdue's legs weren't quite there, which, you can look at it like, okay, 2 games in 24 hours. That's understandable. Somebody like you and me, assuming you're not some world-class athlete, whoever you are watching this, somebody like you and me, that would be a real problem for. But 2 games in 2 days is not all that unreasonable at this level of basketball. This is what these guys do in November. This isn't all that unlike what is done here the rest of the month with much higher stakes. But Purdue just didn't look like it had its legs, and thus you see all of those guys, Purdue's 3 best players, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Wren, and Fletcher Lawyer, all underperforming their baselines of productivity, expectations, things like that, percentages. But the real issue, is the fact that, Purdue shouldn't have to shoot 60% to win a game like this, because what they were able to do from a defensive perspective in January when they were at their best was, stop people. get turnovers, things like that. And when you look at how this has gone since the start of last month, since Purdue started with the loss in Ann Arbor, lost 5 of 7 to conclude the regular season, and now 6 of 9. It's been Purdue getting picked apart by offenses with a defensive system that really worked in January, but then got figured out in correlation with the opponents getting better. Purdue was never going to be a dominant defensive team the whole season. January was not going to be sustainable. It was not going to be forcing 22 turnovers a game and scoring 20 points off of them the rest of the year. But it was reasonable to think Purdue could still be good enough to pair a good enough defense with a very good offense. Complementary basketball being what it could have been, could have still made Purdue a real championship contender here and a team nobody will want to play in March, which they still may prove to be. But they have really kind of fallen apart defensively. The attention to detail has been lacking. Purdue, again, looked a step behind in this game. I think part of that is the fact that these people know how to attack this defense now, and they've been very productive at it. It is compromising Purdue as a rebounding team, and that was already a problem. So compounding a problem only makes a bigger problem, if you can follow my math there. And it's just not been pretty. The second halves have been, for the most part, really ugly. Michigan shoots, what is it? This is really captivating content, isn't it? Me staring at a box score. 65% in the second half, which would be eye-opening if, Indiana, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Illinois hadn't all done very similar things. Purdue has really taken a step backward defensively. Opponents have really figured Purdue out defensively, and Purdue may not be playing with the attention to detail and the energy they need to do to close the gap between what they were and what they are now, if that makes any sense. It probably does not. But that's the bigger issue. Purdue has an outlier shooting performance in this game offensively, but its outlier shooting performance stands out way more because the margin for error for the offense is gone. There really is no margin for error. And yes, I understand that USC only scored 4 points in crunch time last night, but the offense basically can't miss shots, and that's not a sustainable way to win. So, I've for weeks now have expected any game now for Purdue to just flip a switch back, because that's what you've come to kind of expect from this program. That's sort of the standard that has been set at Purdue, that they're always going to, dig deep or whatever ridiculous cliche people like me use, and turn things around and respond to moments. And since that loss in Ann Arbor, that was really circumstantial, it just hasn't happened. Purdue has lost games at a shocking rate here the last few weeks by the standards that they themselves set for themselves with their success. There are a lot of places where 22-11 right now going into the NCAA tournament, and a likely 4 or 5 seed would be a hell of a season. But the way things have gone here for Purdue in the last 5-6 years, that now is a complicated topic in terms of whether a season is successful or not. 22-11, 10 years ago at Purdue would have been parade worthy. 22-11 at Clemson or South Carolina, or I don't know why I'm picking on the state of South Carolina. A lot of people in the Big Ten right now, 22-11 would be a hell of a season. But under the circumstances of the expectations Purdue has set here, them never kind of flipping that switch here these last couple weeks and returning to the form they had in January, or at least surprising you with a dominant defensive game here or there, a really high-end effort defensively is a little bit surprising because you expect better from them. And that's because they've been so damn good for years now. And, Purdue still can beat some people here in the NCAA tournament. You've got a week here to kind of reset, but we've said that a few times. I've said that a few times here over the last 8 weeks or so, and that 90-degree, right, turn, that sharp turn, let's just put it that way, hasn't really occurred in a sustainable manner. And when you look at what Purdue's body of work here the last month and a half have been, whatever it is, in the NCAA tournament, if Purdue's up 10 in the second half against somebody it should beat, are you going to feel good about that? College basketball is a cyclical game. It is a game of runs, as they say, and things happen. But the way things have gone for Purdue lately, that's going to be a pretty fidgety position. I think, everything Purdue did defensively early on in the Big Ten season took people by surprise. There are no secrets now. It's all out there. And what you've seen here lately is, well, first off, Purdue's got to keep the ball out of the paint, and that's been an ongoing issue for weeks now. So it all starts there. But you've seen Illinois and now Michigan today get the ball in the paint and then kind of roast Purdue off cutters off the people who are rotating in to help because of the initial breach in the defense. That stuff's all on tape now. And the coaches who've made the NCAA tournament obviously know what they're doing, or else they wouldn't be in the NCAA tournament. They're going to see that, and Purdue's going to be really vulnerable defensively unless something more comes out of them during this week. This was an opportunity for something more to come out. Maybe it did last night against USC, but it obviously wasn't sustainable. Against the Michigan team, who I have to give them credit, I thought they were done. As soon as they beat Purdue in Ann Arbor, I thought that game was highly circumstantial. That, to me, looked like a team that was about to lose a bunch of games the rest of the way. And that's exactly what they did. And I thought they were done. They were cooked, that they got everything out of that team they possibly could have. And I was wrong, because they obviously were really good tonight. They were quicker to the basketball than Purdue was. They got to a lot of offensive rebounds. And they just were faster, quicker, and more energetic than Purdue. And, that's a credit to Michigan, but it's also not a great look for Purdue. Purdue's got to figure some things out here going to the NCAA tournament, all of which have been spoken about already in this 13-minute video that needs to wrap up because I need to get out of this building before they throw me out. Fletcher Lawyer, that looked bad, and that kind of almost overshadows the game. It looked to me like I'm suppressing a cough. It looked to me like he broke his elbow, and he was going to be done. And as someone who was basically 10 yards away from Isaac Haas when he broke his elbow right in front of me, I've seen it happen before. It didn't look good. I probably shouldn't have even spoken the words broken elbow because there's no solid information about what's going on with him. We didn't have a chance to ask him after the game because he was seeing doctors. Matt Painter didn't have all the pertinent information quite yet during the press conference. But he did come back in the game, so that's obviously a positive sign. But, Purdue needs him if they're going to be the best version of themselves in the NCAA tournament. But for them to be the best version of themselves in the NCAA tournament, a lot of other stuff needs to change. They've got to get better defensively. The roster's not changing. They're not getting bigger. This is a very limited roster. We've discussed that ad nauseum all season long. Purdue's had to overcome some things all year long, adding to the 22-11 record being, pretty acceptable, pretty okay, you might even say. The past month, kind of putting a damper on it, but that's not changing. All of Purdue's flaws that it's had to overcome, and I thought Purdue and its coaches did a great job in January figuring this out. It just wasn't. Purdue just wasn't able to sustain it. If they can get back to something that works with the limited personnel that they have, there's no reason to think they can't win a couple of NCAA tournament games here and get right back to a place where you figured would be their baseline for success this season, coming off a Final Four appearance and leading into what could be a very good year next year. But a lot of these fixes that have to occur now also will leak into next year. If you don't get better defensively now, or if you don't lay the groundwork to get better defensively now, what's to say you can hit the ground running next year as a defensive team? Daniel Jacobson, whoever they get in the portal, whatever it might be, those guys aren't just going to transform Purdue into the 89 Pistons, overnight. Stuff's got to start culturally, like right now. Attention span, energy, stuff like that. Concentration, the term that's come up many times here the last couple weeks. So, kind of a big week here for Purdue, a big opportunity here for Purdue now. Purdue's an underdog now. There's no way around that. They've lost 6 of 9 games here to finish the season. So they're an underdog, so they should play like it. Nothing to lose. So that's what I got from Purdue's 86-68 Big Ten tournament loss to Michigan. This is Brian Neubert from goldenblack.com, joined by Oasis, as always. I hope YouTube doesn't catch me on that. Anyway, thank you for watching, thank you for reading, thank you for listening, and thank you for processing our materials. However it is you process our materials, and I'm going to go suck down all these honey packets. So, thanks everybody. I'll talk to you guys again from, I have no idea where, next week. So, thanks everybody.